This is the Korg SQ-1. It's kind of the heartbeat of my little synth setup here. And today I just wanted to go through how I use it both as a CV controller, and then I'm going to do a separate video on how I use it as a MIDI clock for everything MIDIfied. So the SQ-1 has two banks of CV pots, bank A and B, and the rotary switch up here allows you to choose whether you use both banks or if you use them as two independents. So you can lump them together as A and B as a 16-step sequence, or A and B as two separate 8-step sequences. There's a lot of YouTube videos about how to use the SQ-1, so I'm going to avoid that and go through how it works in my setup, because I have some unusual-ish CV and gate connections. So the first one is I'm using the CV out and this gate out to drive the Moog Werkstatt. The Werkstatt was a Moogfest project kit that they then released as a product about a year after. This board here is actually an expansion board they make to take the kind of mini pin in jumpers for all of your CV and gate inputs and CV outputs and put them on standard 1/8" mono minis. So it makes the Werkstatt very useful. So let me hit the start over here, and what you're hearing is not the Werkstatt. You're hearing my other CV Moog. There's the Werkstatt. Why isn't it working? Well, the way Moog built it, the gate in here, notice it goes to the gate out port. It basically parallels the keyboard gate from these little keyboard buttons. So that doesn't give you a really good gate unless you're actually pressing and holding one of the buttons. There is a mod on the Werkstatt microsite at Moog that talks about how to make a separate gate in. So I'm going to connect this down here. And now I have gate in, and on the Werkstatt there's two CV ins. So there's an exponential CV in and a linear CV in. If you want to do roughly melodic pieces, use the exponential frequency mod in. So that's the VCO exponential FM in. I'll show you what the linear in does. And back to my FM in. This expansion board is available from dealers that still have Werkstatts in inventory. Super useful if you're hooking up with other modular gear. The one thing I will say is I've done the gate mod. There's also a CV mod that I haven't done. So this CV in adds to the keyboard. So if I change the button on the key bed, the output, so it sums this CV voltage with the CV voltage from the keyboard. So I always try and remember whatever I'm doing, I hit the bottom key on the keyboard just so that it stays in something close to tune. So that's the gate and CV into the Werkstatt. Now my other source is another Moog. It's this one. the Moog Source. Now, the Werkstatt is pretty straightforward. It has a gate in that I had to modify, and it has a CV in, and it works. The Moog Source is an older Moog. Moog didn't actually use high voltage or rising voltage gates. They used a trigger system called S-Trig, or shorting trigger. So the note triggers when the gate goes to ground. Mine is a late model Source. So what I have a couple of different outputs on the back. And over here, this is my CV in. So this is control voltage in. It's on a tip ring sleeve 1/4 inch cable to dual female 1/4 inch. This is my CV out from this keyboard. This is the CV in, tracing down to my SQ-1. I also have a separate S-Trig in and out port on the back of mine. Earlier models had a single 1/4 inch that did the same as this. It had a single ring tip sleeve 1/4 inch with S-Trig in and out. Mine has a separate S-Trig in and out. So I'm coming on this black cable off of gate out 2 from the SQ-1, and inside, actually it's in the plug. The plug is a little circuit that converts gate signals to S-Trig signals so I can trigger this keyboard. And I'll just change that is actually the keyboard. Much like the Werkstatt, the CV sums with the keyboard. So if I accidentally hit a key and then start an external sequencer, it will be a different pitch. So I always try to remember, tune everything to whatever the bottom note on the keybed is and use that. On the gate to S-Trig circuit that's inside the 1/4 inch jack, it's a transistor or a couple of resistors. I will put a link in the notes to the YouTube video where I cribbed the circuit from. It's another synth person posted a video on how to make it, specifically to make gate circuits, gate sequencers work with S-Trig devices. And it's real simple. It's a few dollars in parts, and it took me like 20 minutes to make because I'm not that good at soldering. So this is the SQ-1 driving a CV and gate synth and a CV and S-Trig synth. That's the Werkstatt. And there's the Source. My next video, I'm going to do a little bit on the MIDI out from the SQ-1 and how I use that to control the MIDI gear. Thanks, and have a great day.